Hey, welcome back to Power Babe. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get right into it. Today we're going to talk about having a word of the year. Instead of having a super rigid set of New Year's resolutions, having instead a single word, just one word, to help guide all of your decision making in 2020. What is a word of the year? It is, in my mind, a process that really provides clarity for all of the things that you want to do in the next year. It helps you really narrow down with intention into a singular word all of the grand aspirations and plans that you have. It's actually, I think, taking these plans for change that you have and really bringing it a level higher. What's the theme? What are the threads that are bringing all of your small goals together? For me, those threads were all around money in 2018. All signs were pointing to money. I needed to increase my business acumen, my financial acumen. I needed to decide what I was worth and go for it. I needed to figure out what my time was worth to me and go for it. I needed to figure out how all my talents and my passions and my 9-to-5 job and everything fit into each other. I felt like I was carrying around this backpack of stuff that wasn't mine when it had to do with money. In one sense, I had certain beliefs about money, and then in another sense, I was carrying around other people's beliefs. And my beliefs about money were very different than other people's beliefs about money. And I really wanted to have the space and time, and a year felt like a long enough period of time to get started anyway, intentionally unpacking all the things that I had believed and acted on and everything around money, and then make changes to really step into my power when it came to money. I had a story that I told myself, and that story was, I'm not good with money and I don't know how to do money. I always really believed that I was bad with money and that I didn't know what to do. I didn't really understand how to structure my money or make more money or save or anything like that. I had a 401k, I had the underpinnings of what money was supposed to be, but I didn't really understand why I was doing it, and I didn't understand how to really step into my power with it. So in 2019, what I did is the first week in January, I set out and I said, okay, money is my word of the year, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna accept any opportunity that really comes my way to work on this relationship with money, and I'm going to seek out other things to help me with my goal of addressing this concept or theme of money and my relationship with it. And so what that looked like is I put out a post on social media, I think a face or an Instagram story, and I just said, my word of the year is money. And I had never done a word of the year. I'm looking for resources around money. Do you have any? What is your favorite resource around money? And people replied wow, that's interesting, oh, cool. And one woman reached out to me and she said this book, Emotional Currency, really helped her evaluate her relationship with money. And she said it was such a great starting point for her, and it really kicked off a lot of her own personal development around money, and highly recommended it. And I was like, great, this is the starting point, let's do it. I didn't feel overwhelmed at the idea of reading a singular book on money, and I knew that it was an incremental step in my relationship and journey around money for 2019. So I read the book, and it really did open my world. It changed my paradigm around money. Books have a way of doing that for me. Maybe they do for you. And after reading that book, I started to see other opportunities to work on money. I was very excited to really release the shame I had around money and acknowledge that money is something that we don't really talk about, and do the work. It was a very fluid process, this whole thing. I was definitely doing work, but I wasn't doing it in a sense of I'm going to do X thing by Y date, or B thing by, October, and if I haven't, then I've failed. like that was not my guide. It was a very fluid, meandering, no real direction other than the fact that it was around money. And I loved that. That really worked for me. And I'm a type A person. I'm a project manager at my day job, and I like structure, and I like deadlines, and I like chunking things out, and I really like that process. But for something like inside of me that I'm trying to develop and have stick, that didn't feel like a project. It felt like a life skill. It felt like a life lesson that I was giving myself the opportunity to teach myself. I needed a less structured, less rigid approach to it, because I'm a creative, and it felt like a very creative process to do this kind of self-exploration and work. So I read that book in January and into February, and was still doing work around it in March. So this process of working with the idea of money in my life as a resolution, or in place of a resolution, kept popping up throughout the year. And it just would weave itself in and out of the work that I was doing in other aspects of my life. And one of those was work, because you get paid to work. And obviously thinking about how much you're getting paid for the work that you're doing is an integral piece of your relationship with money. And at the time I was ready to leave my job, and I was looking for a new job, and I had an opportunity to really decide how I wanted my days to look, and the type of work I was doing, and the team that I was on. And I was so grateful I was doing this work around money, because I finally decided, I'm worth a certain level of things that I need. I'm worth looking for a job that supports me being in recovery and supports my needs as a person in recovery from an addiction. And I vowed that I wouldn't hide the fact that I was in recovery during the interview process. I was very, very brave in that aspect, but it was really important to me. And I ended up finding a job. It was the first job that I interviewed for. And because I was so specific and intentional about what it is I wanted, how much I wanted to get paid, and it wasn't like this crazy, number that wasn't worth the job that I was doing or whatever, but I wanted to get paid the amount that I was worth for the work that I was doing and the type of brain that I have. And I ended up doing it because of my relationship and my work around money. I demanded what I needed and what I wanted from work, and I got it. And it was really exciting, and it really helped me build help continue to build my foundation of self-esteem. And that was in the middle of the year. And then as the months went on, I actually kept seeing ads for this one particular woman, and I started doing work around really spiritual, like your spiritual relationship with money, and I ended up taking a digital course. And that just blew the cap off my understanding of money and how money is energy, and that really spoke to me. And having a spiritual perspective on money and its ability to be an amplifier of your talents, and it's an opportunity enhancer, and all of these lovely things that really fit into who I was as a person had never, ever been the narrative that I had heard about money, which in the past was money is either you're really greedy and you're a bad person if you have a lot of it, and you're bad with money, and you're a bad person if you don't have it. And it was just, that didn't fit where I was going with who I was. And so having a spiritual perspective just really helped ground me in my relationship with money. And that was really the back half of 2019, is doing that work around that course. Yeah, I'm super grateful that I came across it and that I was able to afford it and pay for it with my new job that I had done, work in the months prior leading up to that around my worth and what I should get paid for my time and my skills. And it was all interconnected. It was pretty cool. And to be able to, sit here and talk about how just choosing a singular word based on the goals that I had for myself, which is to be the person that I want to be in 15, 20 years, I need to have X. I need to do this thing now to really set myself up, my future self up for success. And so for me in 2019, that was money. My word of the year for 2020 is story. So I'm very excited about this. I've already started on my word of the year before 2019 has been closed out. I took a storytelling class in November here in Chicago with a master storyteller and other storytelling newbies. And I performed last week at the student show, and it was very terrifying up until the point when I was on stage, and then I was just so excited and I had the best time. Choosing a word of the year for me started in, I guess, mid-2019. I started realizing that storytelling and being able to orally tell stories and to share my story is a very important skill that a future me is going to need to have. And so I decided, and things kept coming to me. I started paying attention to like the signs I was receiving. I know that sounds super woo, but I really did. And I started listening to my gut. And also I was terrified. That's the other thing about money, is I was terrified of addressing it and what would come up from it, and I was also really excited. And I feel the same way about story as my word of the year. I'm really terrified at what it's gonna ask of me, that I'm gonna have to do some serious work around it. I feel it coming, man, and I'm intimidated by it, and I'm so energized by it because I know that it's going to be such a good thing for me, for future me. Like future me is waving and being like, thank you for doing this work. And that was my process. It was not a structured sit down, goal set, map things, like a big flow chart of shit. It just wasn't. It was a very feminine, spiritual, like gut, feeling my gut, listening to my inner compass, journaling, having self-reflection time, taking note of the world around me and what I was doing, and having like a higher perspective of everything and of myself and of the work that I want to do, and having like my long-term vision for myself. So keeping my long-term vision in mind, I was able to choose things that serve me now and serve future me. I encourage you to do the same. Please let me know what your word of the year is, and I can't wait to support you and hear about how you choose your word of the year. If you take things that I've said or Google it or use your own process, that's great. I think it's a much more enjoyable experience than creating resolutions and not keeping them, which sucks and it doesn't feel good. And the whole point of this is to feel really good and empowered and rooted and grounded in yourself. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. And please like and subscribe. There are buttons around here somewhere. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you. Mwah.